Welcome, gentlemen around the world, to the Gentleman's Lounge. I'm Peyton, and I'm the host of the Gentleman's Handbook podcast. Today, I'm just coming at you with a short video. I wanted to talk about something that I think everyone can relate to. It's one of the main struggles I hear people talk about, and that struggle is adversity. Overcoming adversity, to be exact. So, what I mean by adversity is simply difficulties or misfortune. So, typically, we use the term adversity to talk about different hurdles or anything that gets in the way of our path of success, or anything that may stop us from going in one direction and sends us directly into another direction is adversity. So I came up with a few tips on adversity and, what are some reasons that adversity affects people a certain way, and what are the reasons that some people don't overcome it, and, what is my personal way of overcoming it, because like anybody else, I've had adversity, my fair share of adversity in my life, and I always work hard to overcome adversity, and I think that these 4 tips can help. So the first thing that helps me to overcome adversity is that I understand that life isn't fair and adversity happens to everyone. So a lot of times we personalize adversity and we think, why me? Why is this happening to me? We kind of look at the adversity as a personal attack on our own selves, something that no one else is going through. And when you do that, that only makes the adversity that you go through last longer. First, you have to understand, and what I understood at a very young age was life wasn't fair. I come from a big family. I was 6 or 7 children. I understood that you couldn't get the things that you wanted when you wanted, whether or not you wanted or not. And over time, I realized that, some of my friends had things that I didn't have, and I found that life wasn't fair, right? So the first thing you have to understand when it comes to overcoming adversity is that life's not fair. Life doesn't have favorites. It doesn't matter what your social economic background is, what your race, your sex, your gender, your religious affiliation. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter. Adversity hits home on everyone. I remember in particular, in high school, I had a friend, came from a very well-to-do family. He was very rich. He was on my football team and on my track team as well. And his father was a heart surgeon. His father ended up getting leukemia and dying. And it's like, wow, he's a doctor. Wow, if anybody should have been able to catch on to the signs of cancer, it should have been him, right? But he died. Died from leukemia. And I'm sure he's not the only person whose parent who's died. I had another guy who was a great enemy who died from prostate cancer. So we understand that cancer affects many people in the world today. Heck, my uncle died last year of colon cancer. We understand that many people die from different cancers. And what we do understand is that there's statistics out on these cancers. It's like, X amount of people died last year from cancer. But a lot of times we look at the numbers and we don't put the faces to the numbers. We don't look at the people of the numbers and look and say, hey, that's someone's father, that's someone's brother, that's someone's uncle, that's someone's aunt, that's someone's cousin, that's someone's sister. We don't look at the people. We look at the statistics, and we don't understand those statistics are actual human beings. And we don't look at the way that adversity affects their family. Life isn't fair. And, things happen every day, whether it's murder or whether it's rape or whether it's anything severe like that, or even smaller things. We know that it happens to everyone. Anyone can be a victim of life at any time. So when you go through adversity, you have to understand that, hey, I'm not being singled out. This is life. This is a part of being a human being. And I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me to overcome adversity, because knowing that this is just life itself and there's nothing different going on with you than other people, you understand that, okay, since this is how life goes, well, I think I probably could get past this. And then you have examples of other people who've worked through some of the things that you've been through as well. So the second tip I would like to point out is there is no grand outside force causing adversity in your life. Now, this is huge. I remember in particular, it took me a while to get over the fact that my football career was basically over. Why? Because I felt like it was a personal attack on me by some sort of God or outside force, maybe a devil, some deity who maybe through my wrongful deeds, saw fit to punish me by taking the very thing that I love away from me. I think that a lot of people typically look at adversity this way. And what this does is it just prolongs your suffering, and it doesn't allow you to heal or grow or move forward in your life. When you blame outside forces that are mystical and magical or even religious for your failure, sometimes what you do is you are taking the power out of your hands to grow. I remember thinking that I was like, well, what was the cause? I did everything right. I worked hard. I didn't smoke. I drank a little bit. What college kid doesn't? But I was like, I was doing all the right things. I was putting the work in. Why? I was moving in the right directions. I was moving up the depth chart. So why now? Why not when I was 10? Why not when I was 12? Why not before I put the work in? And then I simply came to the conclusion at the end of the day, after thinking about it very thoroughly, is that people will leak out every day in football. It just happens. The body's not meant to be moved in the way that football players move it for a prolonged period of time. So eventually there's opportunities for these things to happen. There was no outside force that was seeking to destroy me. There was nothing outside of myself on a grand cosmic scale that sought to see me fail. It was just a part of my life. It was just something that happened, an event in my life. Obviously, I've been able to long since move past that event and live a fruitful and comfortable life. But at the time, it was a thing that caused me depression for almost 2 years. Was I actively doing the things I wanted to do as far as life? No, I wasn't, because I was depressed. I felt like, everything, my identity, everything about me was wrapped up in my ability to be an athlete, and that wasn't the truth. And I felt like somehow I had been betrayed by some cosmic deity or some force beyond my power and my control to basically humble me or to change my path to something else. But that wasn't the case. The case was that, I got hurt because I played a physical position. I played running back, and sometimes people get hurt. The third one I want to focus on is one thing that really helped me when it came to adversity is focus on what I can control. And that's huge, because in life there are many things you can't control, but a lot of times we like to focus on the things that we can't. So you ever hear people talking in everyday conversation? They typically talk about things like politics, things that, I'm now vote don't count, or they worry about things that they can't control. Me, I worry about the things I can control. Can I control my work ethic? I can. I can control that, no problem. I can control how hard I work, right? Can I control my attitude, whether I have a positive or negative attitude? I can. Can I control, the amount of effort I put into the way I look? Yes, I can. Can I control, the friends I have, the circle I have? I can. Can I control whether or not I allow positive or negative people around me? Can I control whether or not I do drugs? Can I control? Yes, I can control a lot of things in my life. I tend not to focus on the things that I can't control, because they're out of your control. It makes no sense to focus on them, because you'll drive yourself crazy. A lot of times I see people focus on things when it comes to breakups. So, I remember one particular time I was with a woman, and she ended up breaking up with me and marrying another guy. And the way I was able to finally get over that was like, I can't control how another person feels about me. All I can do is be myself. You can't change yourself to fit what somebody else wants you to be. You just have to be yourself. I can't control whether or not she was going to stay with me or not. I can only control my actions. I can only control what I do and how I operate off of that, So there's a lot of things that go down when it comes to adversity that are out of our control. Sometimes I say, you get into a car wreck, boom, somebody rammed into your car. You're like, man, he just rammed into my car. All I have is liability. Man, if it ain't one thing, it's another. Well, actually, you got to take some fault in that, because you should have had full coverage on that vehicle. Because guess what? At the end of the day, the reason you have insurance is the same reason I carry a gun. I'd rather have one and not have to use it rather than not have one and need to use it. So if you have no insurance, if somebody ram into your car and you need it, and you're like, man, this is, Every time I take one step forward, two steps back. No, you took two steps back because you didn't focus on the things that you could control. And the things that you could have controlled was the fact that you could have had full coverage on that vehicle. You know, so I try to focus on the things I can control more than the things that I can't control. The next tip I think is a very important one. Typically, there's two ways, really three ways that you can go after an adverse event in your life. Three things can happen. One, you can get worse because of the event. So I'm gonna use an example. Um, let's say it's a situation takes place where you see your friend get murdered in front of you. Now you could either become, you can say, you know what, this is the world we live in. You know, what it is what it is. I'm gonna be a killer. I'm gonna kill because that's how it is. Kill or be killed. So I see my friend got taken out. I understand the world we live in now. It's a jungle, and I got to be the baddest in the jungle to survive. Like, that's the worst path you could take, right? You can go left. You could stay the same. You could just, just say, you know what, it's life. You know, it was an event that took place, and I'm sad and everything like that. But it's nothing. There's nothing that I learned from the situation. Or you could go into a positive direction and say, you know what, my friend was murdered. We need to stop these murders in our communities. We need to make sure this never happens again. Or let me educate myself so I don't become a victim the same way. Or things like that. So sometimes when it comes down to these events, we want to try to grow from the adversity. A lot of times we don't grow from adversity. We let adversity affect us negatively, and that's why people have to go to therapy 25 years later for an event that happened 25 years in the past because they didn't grow from the adversity. Adversity is, they say in life you're going to have death and taxes. Well, you should add adversity to that list too, because that's going to happen. And a lot of times people let that adversity, that past adversity, affect their future going forward. And they didn't allow the adversity to make them stronger or make them grow or to learn anything. So you see adversity every single day in every way. If you watch the news, you see somebody got shot here, somebody got the car robbed, carjacking, somebody died from cancer, somebody died from a stray bullet, somebody died from ingesting some poisonous materials, suicide. You see so many forms of adversity. Even so, one of my friends, his sister was murdered and his nephew was murdered, and the guy ended up murdering himself. If that's not adversity, I don't know what is. If that's not adversity, I don't know what is, And it happened Sunday. And Monday he was back in the gym working, albeit he was sad. And we lifted him up, but he was working because it was out of his control. There's nothing he could have done. There's nothing he could have done to be there for that situation. It's a very difficult situation. That kind of adversity hits you. There's a lot of emotions that swirl around, a lot of anger that swirls around, a lot of doubt, a lot of, if he probably goes through all the thoughts on these lists, but that's life. That's life. That's why you have to live your life with purpose. You live your life with meaning. It's not about just necessarily just being rich, but live your life to make yourself happy or to make a change, not just in the world, but within yourself, because you never know when it's over. It's like going back to maybe when I was 10 years old, I think, when I was introduced to death in a weird way. I knew people who died beforehand, even younger than that, but being 6 and things like that, you don't fully grasp the concept of death. Guys overdosing on bad heroin and things like that. Those kind of things. But I remember one thing really stuck to me like glue. A friend of mine, his younger brother got killed in a car accident. He had to be no more than 6 years old. Now I maybe was 10. His brother was 10 with me, and I used to see him all the time. And I remember when he died, it was such a devastating form of adversity in a lot of people's lives, because I'd never known anyone that young to die so early. It goes back to that life isn't fair, and adversity happens to everyone. And it kind of affected me for a lot of years, but I was able to overcome it. And you start to understand that, all you can do is what you can do. So when it comes to adversity, man, my cousin died from a heart attack. I remember, and he was a good dude. He wasn't a bad guy. He was playing football over up at Louisiana Tech, doing well, and he caught a heart attack and died, and it affected my cousin's father severely to the point where he's dead now. Some years later, he drank himself down. But that's how adversity happens. It's things that are so difficult sometimes to fathom and to feel. You don't want to feel those feelings, but you have to understand that it happens to everyone. That's one of the main things that helps me to push. On a much lighter note, I had some adversity this past week. Over the past couple of months, I had a polynodial cyst on my tailbone, and it was most very painful. I had one before, but what they have to do is you have to go to the emergency room or the doctor, and they have to lance it. Basically, lancing means they have to use a scalpel. Yeah, so they have to use a scalpel to drain it. It's a very painful situation. It is what it is. And it was like, even let's go back to 2020. I broke my hand. I caught COVID. I had 2 pilonidal cysts, and now I have to have surgery to remove a sinus near my tailbone to make sure I don't get any more pilonidal cysts. I didn't pull my calf muscle. I think I had a tear in my calf muscle. I was working too hard running with the pro guys, but I only know how to compete one way. So, but my spirits are never down. And that leads me into the next one. Positive attitude. I would say I have a very positive attitude. I don't let the small things get to me. I don't let the things that I can't control get to me. I try to focus on the positive things in my life that I have going, while still focusing on my need and ability to grow. But, you go back in a lot of people's past, and my past included, we have these situations that people call trauma. Being working in mental health, I understand trauma very well, but I'm one who doesn't remember much of the trauma that happened in my life. I don't know if it's because I severely suppressed it, or I just choose to focus on the positive and the good times. Things that make me feel good, things that push me to continue to grow and to be great. A positive attitude is like eating a proper diet with vegetables and fruits and lean meats and your omega-3s and vitamins. That's what it's like. It's preventative medicine, because a positive attitude, what it does is it fights against stress. I'm rarely stressed. I don't get stressed out because I don't feel like I have a reason to get stressed out. That positive attitude is what a healthy diet is to preventing cancer and heart disease. It's the same thing for preventing mental illness, depression, poor self-esteem. It's the same thing. One of the main reasons I was finally able to overcome a lot of adversity in my younger 20s, due to my loss of my football career and relationship breakups and my parents getting divorced all within the same month, it's because I had a positive attitude. I said, you know what? As long as I'm in this tunnel and I see a little bit of light, I'm going to get out. I don't know how, but I will. Speaking positively to myself and telling myself that I have the ability to succeed, and eventually teaching myself and talking to myself that being an athlete doesn't define who I am. I'm enough because I am, because I exist. Those kind of thoughts, those kind of words, those are the things that help you push over adversity. Life's not fair. Gentlemen, remember that. But as a gentleman, it is your duty to fight to the best of your ability to overcome anything that you may, come across. I'm not telling you to bottle it up and keep it to yourself. What I'm telling you is that you have to understand that it's possible. It's very possible. So as always, like, share, and comment. If you guys have any thoughts on adversity, maybe some adversity you have overcome, or any helpful tips to overcome adversity, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. And With that being said, that's all I got for you fellas today. I'm out. Peace.